The road to the 2021 Kentucky Derby continues as we start to profile the 20 starters that will be making the Kentucky Derby starting gate the first Saturday in May. Remember, hit subscribe and smash that like button if you want to see more Kentucky Derby starter videos. We've already got a profile on Helium. You can watch that video right now. And later on this week, we're going to be doing Midnight Bourbon. But today, the topic is the big strapping son of Oxboy, Hot Rod Charlie, the Louisiana Derby winner, trained by Doug O'Neill. Let's first start with the pedigree. And the sire of this one is Oxboy, who won the Preakness Stakes, ran well in the Kentucky Derby. He was in the Kentucky Derby with Orb and the fast pace set out there by Palace Malice with the blinkers. They went 45 and change, and it was a deceptively good run by Oxboy, who was up near the pace. He was trained by D. Wayne Lucas, came back and then pretty much was close to the pace and took the Preakness Stakes at a very overlaid price of about 13-1. So a good stamina pedigree with that Oxboy breeding, who's by Awesome again. On the broodmare side, that's where it gets a little bit on the speedy. You see names like Mr. Prospector, also Two Punch, Indian Charlie. Now, Indian Charlie was a horse trained by Bob Baffert, who was one of two entries along with Real Quiet. Now, Real Quiet ended up coming off the pace and picking up the victory in the Kentucky Derby. Indian Charlie was lightly raced and finished third in that race. He had a little bit more of a speedier side pedigree on the speedy side. Also, the mare on this one has produced Mitole. Remember him as a breeder mile winner, so a lot of speed, a little bit more speed on the female side. The stamina influences seem to be on the sire side. Now, a lot of times people think that a horse gets its class from the female side, and that's what Hot Rod Charlie seems to be doing here. His Louisiana Derby effort was a solid 99 Buyer's speed figure, and overall, Hot Rod Charlie has put together three nice efforts in a row now. He ran second at almost 95-1 in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. That was a fast pace. He came off the pace that day. Then they laid him up after that race. He came off a long layoff and ran in the Robert Lewis Stakes, and that was a small field. The track was extremely slow that day, and Hot Rod Charlie made a move into the turn, and Medina Spirit ended up holding sway after a long drive, after a dueling stretch duel with Hot Rod Charlie and Roman Centurion, who had just broken his maiden in that race. The interesting thing was Hot Rod Charlie probably had the worst of the trip because he was in between those two horses, and for him to battle on like that in between those two horses and really lose a three-horse photo finish was a pretty solid effort from Hot Rod Charlie. He trained well out of that race and looked like he was going to run a nice race here in the Louisiana Derby. He ended up running on the front end. Joel Rosario took him to the lead. Was quite not a lot of speed in the race. Proxy hadn't shown speed. Midnight Bourbon was really the only other speed horse, and with Joel Rosario taking the lead with Hot Rod Charlie, Midnight Bourbon sat second the entire way around, and those two really went around the track 1-2 all the way around that long Louisiana stretch. Second week that Joel Rosario had kind of shown and took the aggressive stance in a race with not a lot of speed. So the big question mark now out of this race is Hot Rod Charlie's going to train up to the Kentucky Derby, the 6-week gap. Traditionally, a lot of the Louisiana bred horses, Derby horses, have done well in the Kentucky Derby, but not actually won the Kentucky Derby. Long time ago, Grindstone, trained by D. Wayne Lucas, won the Kentucky Derby coming out of the Louisiana Derby. But that one was further back, and a lot of times horses would run again after that race. So it'll be interesting to see how he does in the Kentucky Derby. But horses that have ran in the Louisiana Derby have done well. Seconds and thirds on the board, like Commanding Curve and some other horses recently. So I think Hot Rod Charlie fits in the mix. The trainer, Doug O'Neill, he's won two Kentucky Derbies with Nyquist, and then he also won with All Have Another. All Have Another was another one who showed speed as a juvenile, as a 2-year-old, and then kind of developed as a 3-year-old, won the Kentucky Derby, won the Preakness. Nyquist won the Kentucky Derby, ran a strong Preakness Stakes, and then kind of his form went off form after that. So Doug O'Neill looking for his third Kentucky Derby with Hot Rod Charlie. We're starting to line him up in the gate now. You can watch the video on Helium later on this week on Midnight Bourbon. But Hot Rod Charlie, what do you think of his chances in the Kentucky Derby? Probably early morning line right around 10, 12 to 1. Leave a comment, smash that like button, and hit subscribe. We're going to be leading you all the way up to the 2021 Kentucky Derby with more preview videos. Also, Kentucky Derby profile starters, and look at the pace analysis and days away and speed figure progression as we lead you up to the 2021 Kentucky Derby.